This is my 13th State of the Town, which is somewhat unusual for a town to do, but I think it's important, as I know this town board believes is important, that we take an opportunity to engage our residents in those things that we think that we'd like to accomplish this year. These are some things we're going to be talking about are lofty, some things we've talked about before, maybe some new things, but just to give everyone an idea of what we're thinking to do this year and really kind of encourage folks to engage in that throughout the year in the work we're trying to do. I'm happy to stand here tonight and report that from our expanding parks to our growing commercial corridors, from our new pedestrian paths to our strengthening neighborhoods, from our sustainability efforts to our strong and stable finances, the state of our town is not just good, but it is very strong, it is vibrant, it is growing, and we are a community on the rise. Much has changed since I first took my oath of office, my first term as supervisor 13 years ago, and a lot of people have come and gone in that time. But through it all, we were always able to deliver to our residents an effective and efficient local government that we all can be proud of. Over the course of our many years of this administration, we working as a team have accomplished much. We always stayed under the tax cap. We've delivered our tax cuts. We've slashed our debt, and we protected our fund balance. We've made investments in our people, in our equipment, and in our parks, our commercial corridors, and in our neighborhoods. We've made our town more connected. We've enhanced recreational opportunities and invested in a more sustainable community. Most recently, we passed a budget that provided a 3% tax cut to our residents, and we've reduced overall spending for a second consecutive year. In short, we've cut taxes, we've reduced our spending, we've paid down our debt, we've protected our savings, but that's not all. Our hard work put us in a position to again improve services for our residents. And I want to take just a minute to talk about some of the more recent highlights of this past year and this coming year of some of the things we're able to achieve. First of all, partnering with our school districts to meet their needs. In 2022, the town assigned 2 police officers to 2 distinct school districts, Burnt Hills, Boston Lake, and Scotia Glenville, as school resource officers during the school year. This initiative has been discussed for several years, and the hard work of the parties involved have finally made it pay off. I want to take a moment to thank Superintendents Patrick McGrath, Susan Swartz, the 2 school boards, the Glenville Police Chief, and all of those involved for their perseverance in turning this idea into a reality. I also am proud that this year we're adding to our police force again. Councilwoman Wierzbowski touched on it, and tonight we'll be hiring another police officer as well, but we'll be hiring 2 in total this year to backfill those SRO positions. These hires will augment the new police officers in both 2018 and 2019. I'm proud that as of 2017, we employed 22 police officers. By the end of this year, that number will rise to 26 police officers. We've added and invested in public safety. I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish in our parks, thanks largely to Vicki Hillis here tonight. But we're adding staff as well in our growing park system. This budget for 2022 funds a full-time laborer position, which is the second straight year that we've added a full-time park employee. As recently as 2019, our Parks Department only had 2 employees. By the end of this year, that will increase to 4.5 full-time employees. We're adding staff to our senior center as well. For years, we relied on volunteers to staff the front desk, and they've done a wonderful job at doing so, but this year we'll add a part-time senior center employee for the afternoons. And we'll be taking up a resolution at the next meeting, I believe, because we have a candidate selected. We'll be increasing staff at Town Hall. In 2022, the budget also increases the deputy town clerk position from part-time to full-time to provide for additional support for residents and to assist the tax receiver during collections. As you can see, as I said, we are on the rise. We are starting to add more resources to meet the growing needs of a town. And there's a lot to be proud of, but there is a lot more work ahead. And tonight I want to focus on just three main areas: our parks, economic development, and infrastructure. First, as I mentioned, in our parks. Now, for some time, we've had a very good relationship with our sports leagues, and it worked well. However, as the parks continue to evolve, the dynamics of that relationship need to change with it. This year, we'll engage our partners and work to enhance the relationship that will bring better services while helping to upgrade our facilities for all town residents. I'm asking the Park Planning Committee to sit down with our youth sports leaders and reimagine a better model that better invests in our youth while ensuring our parks remain open and accessible for all of our residents. And speaking of that, the physical improvements to our parks will continue. We will look to create a pedestrian path to and around Melwick Park. We've invested over $1 million recently in Melwick Park, including a new adaptive playground, a new pavilion, and concession stand. And it is even more important to gain pedestrian access to that park for those in the neighborhood around it. To meet that need, we began to invest in the 2020 budget funds to construct a pedestrian path around the park and plan to eventually link the neighborhoods below Mohawk Avenue to Melwick Park to create more opportunities for residents within that area. That is a longer-term goal, but most immediately we'll be looking to create the pedestrian trail within the park for walking, skiing, snowshoeing, and other activities for our residents. I'm most proud of one of the things we were able to actually get last year was a new park for our veterans called Legacy Park. After much effort, we secured the 6 acres on Dutch Meadows Lane, and that will be the home of Legacy Park to honor our region's veterans. This 2022 budget provides $100,000 in funding to get this important project started, while fundraising and grants are simultaneously pursued. I recently had a meeting with the engineer, and we have a basic layout, and we have a potential for a walking trail that is within that budgeted amount. Also, providing recreational opportunities for our youth. The 2022 budget continues to invest in our Burnt Hills Boston Lake Summer Rec program, while also adding funding in to create and recreate the Scotia Glenville Youth Rec program as well. And I've been in contact with trustees in the village to begin that effort for this summer. Other projects in parks that will be included is the development of a girls' softball facility for the Scotia Glenville team, paving the interior roads of both of our major parks, making investments in disc golf course, additional pickleball courts, and a seasonal stage at Indian Meadows. And we just recently received funding for a rooftop boat launch at Melwick Park. We'll approve tonight a creative plan to help our youth sports leagues continue investments within our parks. We will allocate $75,000 in ARPA money, that's the COVID relief fund from the federal government, to help our sports leagues invest in capital projects within our parks. This program, known as Youth Leagues for Parks, will strengthen our youth programs while helping to continue investments in our park projects. Additionally, we will update and finish the park's master plan and include a better opportunity for us to deal with invasive species. We've done a wonderful job with it. I want to thank Vicki for her leadership and Melissa for her leadership on it. It's a serious threat to our natural areas, and we've done a lot to mitigate, and we've got a lot more to do. So we'll continue to work on that as well. It wouldn't be Glenville if we weren't talking about economic development. Building on the success that we've experienced in Town Center, we will focus on Freeman's Bridge Road and its redevelopment. This will be a long-term strategy, and the redevelopment of this corridor will take many years, but it has already begun. This important work will help us turn the point on that important commercial corridor. This underutilized commercial corridor will be a central point that includes more pedestrian paths to connect the bridge to Dutch Meadows. We will seek resources to implement placemaking elements such as lights, banners, and street trees to help beautify and encourage more private investment in the area over the long term. These elements are catalysts for businesses, and they help attract and keep small businesses within the corridor. Part of the Freeman's strategy will include modifying land use policy for the corridor, continuing to pursue the contamination cleanup that began years ago at the Kenco site, fixing the railroad crossing, and starting the two major pedestrian walkway projects, the Freeman's Bridge Road pedestrian walkway from the bridge to Dutch Meadows, and the Mohawk-Hudson bike hike trail along the Mohawk River that will connect Glenville and Scotia. Additionally, this will complete a 4-mile loop around the river. Our residents will be able to go from Glenville through Scotia, around the river, back through the city of Schenectady up by the casino, and then back to Glenville in a 4-mile loop. And we're very excited about it, and I know the county is also excited about it as well. And lastly, our economic development strategy will continue to focus on the support and attraction and the strengthening of our small businesses. We will focus on our small businesses through the microenterprise program that makes $300,000 of new capital available to our small businesses through our local development corporation. And thank you, Brian, for all the great work you and your folks do through that important tool we have in economic development, the local development corporation. We'll also make investments through ARPA, which I mentioned earlier is the COVID relief money, into a small business grant relief program totaling $150,000, and that resolution is on tonight's agenda as well. And through one of the more innovative programs, the READY program, we'll invest over $50,000 to help small business beautify their properties. Overall, the town of Glenville will be investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in our community's small businesses to help them better succeed. Additionally, we'll open many of these programs to our nonprofits as well and help them cope with the impacts of the pandemic, which includes using ARPA funds to support them. And that resolution is on tonight's agenda as well. Lastly, capital improvements and infrastructure. Now, I know this is, I talked about earlier, there's some things in here that we've talked about for some time, and this is one of them. But now is the time that we need to finally address the town's workspace issues that include the need for additional storage, a safer work environment, and that will help support more efficient operations. This includes, as an important component of that, finishing Yates Mansion so that we can have our History and Cultural Center finally open. We need to address Town Hall rehab or its new build, and we need to build a storage facility. There is no question we're struggling with space issues. The Yates Mansion offers us an opportunity to replace our old, dilapidated, current History Center here on this campus, which we use as a History Center, and help give us new life to the house that is both on the state and the federal historic registries. Securing and opening the new History Center is an important step for us, and we will finish that project. And I'm pleased to say that Councilman Jim Martin has stepped up and has offered his leadership to make sure that that project gets complete. Our decision on Town Hall will be weighed against the cost to fix and expand our space here or to find a new facility for our offices. I've asked our attorneys to prepare a call for proposals so that we can evaluate all possible opportunities before us. Once we have all those options, we will discuss all proposals, including the past ones. We have patiently waited for the COVID frozen grants from the state that include $1.4 million to put towards this project. But the time to decide has come, and this will be on the top of the board's agenda in this new year. We'll be bringing in this project, and this top of the board's agenda. I don't know if that's feedback, but did you hear something? Yeah. Okay. That was me, wasn't it? Yeah. All right. That was weird. It will be on our work session this coming February. We will finalize the Dawson Bridge road repair that has been going on for some years. We will build out our pedestrian trails to begin the work to make necessary investments in our water infrastructure in the Glen Oaks neighborhood, below the avenue, and in the Business and Technology Park. For too long, our residents of these areas of the town have been left to the village system where they have lower pressure and have been subject to higher prices. In fact, our residents who are on the village system but live within the town of Glenville pay an average of 36% more than the village resident who pays for the same exact water. Neighbors along the village-town line, one pays 36% more than the other. And the residents who live in the village water district within the town pay twice as much as the town residents on average outside the village. This is unaffordable, it's unfair, and it's something that we need to address immediately. But cost isn't the only issue. The infrastructure investment that will bring our town residents onto our system will provide better water, better pressure at lower prices, but it will help with economic development too. See, the issues in the business park deal with low pressure issues, and we need to make sure we have better pressure. But perhaps most pressing is public safety. We have public safety issues because that low water flow to the hydrants below the avenue in particular are problematic, and within the business and technology park. This will help us no longer continue the practice of letting revenue flow to the village while the cost of the system stays on the town resident. We need to address this. We need to address this quickly. Other issues are some of our significant pedestrian walking path projects beyond the ones I mentioned that we'll be focused on in this year is finishing the All Plaza sidewalk, which we started with working with the county and received a survey for. We will try to get that completed this year. And of course, we're going out to bid on the Burn Hills Boston Lake Hill Road sidewalk that will connect the high school to the middle school and make a safe walkway for those students. We received funding to help us build the Van Buren sidewalk, and that will be a project that will be multi-years in the making, but we'll start that now so that we can finally complete the last piece of our pedestrian trail here that will connect two major neighborhoods, Woodhaven and St. Stephen's, to our commercial corridor and to our parks, which will bring them into not just the Anderson Park, but the Indian Meadows Park and another large loop pedestrian trail for our residents. This will be the link that brings a massive amount of residents together in one pedestrian trail, and we're very excited for that to happen. We'll also continue to provide enhanced road paving for a third year in a row. This 2022 budget utilizes another $150,000 from Capital Reserve to accelerate our highway paving schedule. And lastly, as you heard before, we will help bring broadband to our rural areas of the town. I've asked the board to consider, and this will be on our work session shortly as well, using some ARPA money to help invest in the partnership with Spectrum and the town residents to share in the infrastructure costs that is necessary to make this happen. Our residents in West Glenville in particular had a difficult time during the pandemic because they could not access school or work from their home. Many called me about their plight of going to a Stewart's parking lot to sit in their car just to use the Wi-Fi so that they can either help their child with school or to dial into their work. We need to help fix that. We have an opportunity with ARPA money, and we're going to try to make that program work. Now, it's clear that this is an aggressive agenda. But over the past 12 or 13 years, we've always challenged ourselves to improve this community, to invest in the important infrastructure that is not just necessary to deliver key services, but the infrastructure that also makes this town more livable and to protect our taxpayers from over-excessive tax burdens. I'm confident that we can achieve these goals because together we've already achieved so much. Just 12 years ago, our commercial corridor was dark and vacant. Our parks were underutilized. There was not a foot of sidewalk anywhere. Our finances were shaky, and our debt was out of control. By working together as a team, all of us, each one of us, our employees, our volunteers, our appointed and our electeds all came together under a common vision, united in purpose, dedicated in effort to change this town for the better. We did so because each one of us put the town's resident first, our egos last, and the betterment of this community became our prime directive. As I close, I want to thank you all for being here, but I do want to make one quick acknowledgement, as I've done recently. I think I can say the toughest year of my tenure so far has been this past 2 years, 2020 and 2021. Nothing, as I've said before, could have prepared me or anyone else here for the impact of that pandemic. But that's when I found that our people really shine the most. Through that entire experience, our people showed compassion. We kept our critical services going. We created some new ones to support our small businesses and to support our most vulnerable in our community. And each of our employees, each one of them always stayed focused on their job. That balanced and reasoned approach that we took to the pandemic, I think, is the hallmark of this team's work together. And that is what will continue as we go through the next 4 years. I know what we're capable of, and I'm excited about what's still ahead. And again, I want to thank you all for being here, thank the folks on the webinar for taking time to be here tonight. Thank you very much.